Hello, that's Jesse from ANOW Technologies again. Just want to give another lesson. This one is on the internal workings of your computer. There's These boxes aren't magical, and honestly, I've come up with a way to explain to the general public a very easy way of explaining what each one of the components of your computer does. In your mind, I want you to imagine an office, and you're sitting at the desk. When you're going in your office, there is a file cabinet, a desk, a pen, and a calculator. Now, how are these components the same as your computer? In this situation, the individual sitting at the desk is what's known as your processor. That's the one that fetches the information to be processed. The file cabinet is the hard drive where you store your permanent documents. The RAM of your computer is what is on the desktop, how big the desktop is. And in my situation, for not all everybody, but in my situation, the graphics card is my glasses. So let's talk about how these computer systems work. When you start up your computer and you're booting up, what's going to happen is you're going to start the workday. So the processor, being the individual, goes over to the filing cabinet and pulls out the file that they're going to work on. And they lay it on the desktop, or RAM. And let's just say this particular folder has 4 pieces of paper. And I lay out 4 pieces of paper for me to work over. And then there's a calculator. And what I'm doing is I'm running to see how much money I'm going to be making off of this one deal. Okay, just for an example. I am the processor, and I'm going to add up how much this file brings in for the company. And so what I do there is I, the processor, go over and I go through each one of the pieces of paper that I have laid on the desk, and I type in how much I bill a month off of each one of those pieces of paper. Let's just say at the bottom it says, one says I made $300 that month, another one says $200, the next one says 99 cents, whatever the figures are, and I calculate them. That calculation, me actually running the calculator, is what's known as a process. And then when I get it out, I take another piece of paper and I write on that piece of paper how much I pulled in. And for arbitrary reasons, we'll say that it's $542.92. I write that number onto a piece of paper and I put in, this is how much money I made. When I'm done with the folder, when I'm done with this project, I will take all the pieces of paper, all 4 pieces of paper, plus the new information, and I'll put them in the manila folder. I'll put them in the folder. And then I run over and I put it into the filing cabinet and I shut the door. That is the equivalent of saving your data. So I pulled out information, I looked at information, I computed information, I came up with a figure, and then I saved it to the hard drive, which is the file folder, and I close it. What's interesting about this analogy is you start seeing why those stupid IT guys tell you, have you tried turning it off? Because I'm sure we all have done it. We've been messy workers. We have 50 pages on our desktop. We have folders open. We have mixed data. We have some pages on top of another folder, and the desk gets very, very full of information. And we're like, well, what's the easiest, in an IT perspective, what's the easiest way to get that desktop, that RAM, empty so that we can start working with the computer, make it speed up? Best thing to do is call close of business. When you call close of business, you have to clean your workspace, and the processor will sit there and put all the folders in the right spot, all the pages go in the right folders, all the folders go in the right booklets, all the booklets go in the right other folder, and you start organizing your desk, and you put it all in the filing cabinet, and you shut the door. Boom, the computer's off. And then the computer guy says, well, now we're going to turn it on. And you're sitting there going, oh yeah, turning it on and off is going to do something. It actually does. So they go over there and they open up when you turn on the computer after it reboots, the computer turns on, you go over to your filing cabinet and you pull out just what you were having a problem with, a folder. And you open it up and you lay it on your desktop. You're like, well, now it's kind of working. You guys really aren't doing anything. They did. As stupid as it sounds, when you reboot the computer, you're doing your computer a service because you're clearing all of that RAM. You cleared all of that RAM, you've emptied the computer system, and basically brought it down to what's known as a baseline. And then they'll work with you, and they always say something like, you've got too many tabs open. You need to close some of these tabs. You can't have 60 tabs opened up on Google and 4 different PowerPoints running in 2 different words. It pulls that desktop down. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, I don't really do that much. I basically get on Chrome, or I get on, I use Chrome to get my email. I go on Facebook. I may play a little bitty video game that I bought from Walmart, or some video game I found on the internet, and that's about all I do. Well, in that situation, you've got basically too small of a desk, or not enough RAM. So a lot of those computers that you think, oh man, this thing's a piece of junk, I don't want it, I need to go out and spend a whole bunch of money up at Best Buy and get that uncomfortable feeling that I got screwed. And it happens. Or you can call ANOW Technologies and have me come out. I look at your machine, I say, you know what, we can install a much bigger desktop on here, and it'll be more than enough to run your programs. And it's a simple procedure. I'll be in and out of your house in less than 20 minutes for a simple RAM upgrade. Basically, the longest part is just waiting on the parts, because I order my parts. I either drive over to St. Louis and I pick up my parts, and I would highly suggest that if you are IT related, or if you know enough to get into trouble, Micro Center is a heck of a place to go. A heck of a place to go. They have some of the neatest stuff. They've got all of the components you need to fix computers. But when you fix a computer, and let's just say you upgrade the RAM, that desktop, and add more space for you to work, you don't lose your pictures. You don't lose the settings. You don't lose that comfortable feeling. I look at some of my computers that I've had over the years, and I always think of them as an easy boy recliner. You just kind of get used to it. You know where everything's at. It's got stuff on there you forgot about, but you only remember during tax time. So that's one way of upgrading your office, your computer, because that's what the computer is designed to do. It's to replace offices. Another example is when you pull out an application. What is that application? Well, remember that calculator that we used? For an example of me processing information. That is an application. When I need to type up something like a report, I pull out a typewriter. When I pull out PowerPoint, I'm pulling out basically all of my arts and crafts for a project. When I pull out Excel, I'm pulling out a calculator with basically a calculator that's hooked up to a typewriter. So if you just simplify it, and if you may remember in my pilots, I was talking about how there's nothing new underneath the sun. Very wise man said that. And it's the truth. Computers aren't something new. They just do the same thing differently. That operating system that you use, that is basically the rules of how you're going to set up your office. To get back on track, you're like, well, what this RAM thing, I had Jesse come out, and Jesse made my computer run a lot faster, but I want to see if I can get more money out of it, more speed, more time that I get to use it. And the reason I do that is, one, it's more environmentally friendly. All those computers that you're trying to get rid of, they end up in landfills, or very, 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 very few private or consumer-based people actually recycle a computer the correct way. And if you want to recycle your PC, there is a company over in St. Charles called EPC USA. Also a neat place to go, but you have to be a really big nerd before you would enjoy a trip over to EPC. As a matter of fact, I just saw that one of my old college buddies accepted my invite to my new company's website, and we used to go over there for geek outings. But you have to be super geek before you like EPC. But if you're looking for a place to dispose of your electronics, be it printers, televisions, your computer systems, anything electronic that shouldn't go in the landfill, it's the best place to go. But back to the case at point. What about my old computer? I had actually devised something. I designed the components myself. There are companies that do stuff like this, but I have actually never met somebody doing it in a consumer-based environment. And what it is let's go to the filing cabinet or that hard drive. And let's think about the old filing systems. If you can remember, you pull the button and it slides open and then it's all in there and it's just all sheets of paper, and you're rifling through it as it's real long. It took a while to get through that. Now, imagine if you could upgrade that filing cabinet with a Rolodex. So it's got all of your contact information, all the information you need for your business, but now it's on a Rolodex and it spins real fast. That is comparative to these new solid state hard drives, and I know you've all heard about them. They're amazing. They really are. The solid state hard drives. I've been doing PCs back before PCs were on the internet. Like, I just built computers just to play video games when I was in high school. These new solid state hard drives, though, can make the oldest computer seem like it's running so fast. They are pricier than the old hard drives, and they're not as big. A terabyte hard drive cost about $50 of the old school, which is known as spinners. And a solid state hard drive just for 120 gig, which is a tenth of the same size, will cost you about the same amount, 50 to 60 bucks. The thing is, I have hardly ever met in today's world, now in the old days, yes, but in today's world, I've hardly met anybody that actually even needed over 250 gigs, because now we store everything in the cloud. And if it comes down that you do have a lot of storage, I can move your operating system over to one of these solid state hard drives, and you just transfer all of your data over to the old hard drive. And I can do that job depending on the size of your hard drive and the speed of your computer. I can do that relatively easy as well. And what's nice is the way I do it, it's flawless. There's no change. You just notice that the computer's faster. The wallpaper doesn't even change. It's the same computer. It's just a way of upgrading the hard drive. And it's kind of neat to watch sometimes. Some people say it's interesting because I actually open it up, I hook up some wires, a little device I made. I took apart an external hard drive and I made this device. So that's another way that you can speed up your computer. Another way, and like I said, this is part of the PSA, is to make sure that you do good things. Like when you're done with a program, close it out, put it back in the filing cabinet. When you don't have enough space on your desk to do something and you have a gigantic typewriter, an example Word, sitting on your desktop, put the, I don't know if some of you aren't going to know what I'm talking about, but some of the olders will. Put the typewriter back in its box, close the lid, and then put it next to the floor where they used to store them. Clear your desktop. So that's another way that you can speed it up. And someone else is like, well, what else can you do? Well, unfortunately, I'm turning into one of these old computers, and I have horrible, horrible eyesight. I always have. I got to get a better and better prescription almost every year. You can think of that as your video card. That one's a little stretch of the idea, but basically your video card allows you to focus on what you're working at the time. It could even be a video game. If you're doing a crossword puzzle and you're finding yourself picking up glasses so you can read the crossword puzzles, your computer is the same way, because remember, it was designed to replace offices, and the human being is part of the office. So when you get a pair of glasses and you put it on a processor, or the person sitting at the desk, and you have them zero in on what they're working, they can see it better. And it's the best way to describe what a video card does. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine just bought an extremely nice video card, and I'm glad that I stuck to my guns and I made sure that he got what I wanted him to get instead of what he wanted to get. That's a shout out to you, Dustin. He's been a good friend of mine, and we had a lot of talks about IT. He's actually the one that suggested that I do something like this. But you know, your video card can make all the difference in the world. So if you upgrade your RAM and you upgrade your video card and you upgrade your hard drive, you basically created a new video game. Processors are just like people. You know, there's some that are older and they work a little slower, but basically, as easy as it is to work at a desk, it's about your processor. Now you have something, you have a 95-year-old man sitting at a desk. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to be slower. He's going to need, you know, a lot more upgrades. And sometimes, you know, it's good to retire it. But when you have a 50-year-old, 60-year-old worker that knows the job inside out, you're familiar with him, you like him, he came to your kid's birthday party when he threw a party. You know, when you got a good processor and you got a good motherboard, a good company that you work for, you kind of want to keep them. And if you equate the year, if you equate human years into PC worlds, I'll explain it this easily. If you have a computer that says Core 2 Duo or has Windows XP and came stock with it, it's just getting to the point where it's just starting to expire. Just starting. You know, and I'm not talking a computer that was special ordered with XP. If it came and it's got that little XP symbol on it, it's time to retire them. And like I said, I will help you with the contact over at EPC if you want me to build you a computer. I also do buying services. I do the hard sale too. I try to give you what you need, not what you want. And you're not going to meet too many salesmen that will sit there and have the patience to do that. But a lot of times I will, and my friends will attest, I will spend the extra time and convince you or show you or educate you to the point where you're buying what you need, not what somebody told you that you wanted. If you have any questions or comments or likes, if you could, like my video, subscribe on my YouTube channel. Reach out to me, schedule a time. If you're needing computer work, you can get a hold of me through here. Like I said, I'm not fully to the point where I'm processing payments. Right now, if I do take any customers, it will have to be on a cash basis as I'm getting ready to set up my business and everything. I'm pretty much doing this as kind of like an advertising outlet for my business. My name's Jesse Chartrand. I'm from ANOW Technologies, and this is my PSA for how to well, basically how those stupid computers work. Oh, and one quick thing. The printer, when you print something, you can kind of think of that as your handwriting. So I just wanted to add that. I meant to add that into the spiel and I forgot. So, like I said, like, comment, share, and remember, if you don't have the patience to help your father or your mother with IT, my own parents won't listen to me when it comes to IT. It's just ingrained into them. But if you need someone to sit down with your family members or an adult and they're wanting to talk to, you know, or I shouldn't say adult, but want to sit down and talk to someone about a concern that they're having, I'm very discreet, you know, so if you need discreet work done or you need someone that's basically seen it all, I'm your guy. So be safe out there and happy times on the internet. Have a good day. Bye-bye.